What's up, everybody? You are listening to the Money Down Pod. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. That's my guy on the right, Sean White. You can follow him on Twitter at DumpsterFireFan, myself at Kayvon_sports. If you're listening on podcast version, we appreciate you. Like and subscribe to the show. It means a ton to us. A lot going on in the football world right now. College, NFL. We're going to talk about both of those leagues here in a minute. We're going to start with some college talk because college is off the rails right now. We are, Sean, officially in a time where college football has changed. For better or worse. Whatever your people's views are on it, I get it. Everybody has different views on how it is. I like it, and I don't like some of it. I think that there's numerous ways you can look at it. I do think we all have to wake up and understand that this is here, but I think we can also push back on some certain things that are happening as well. One of those is the transfer portal. Love the transfer portal, and I love the way it's going. The fact that it's at the point, though, where we've got over 1,000 kids in there is where it's a bit of a head scratcher. I don't really know how you can fix it, and I don't really know that's the conversation we're trying to have here. But the conversation we're looking at is, what are these kids going to do? Like, where are some of these guys going to go? We know that there's going to be some big-time names that are going to get jobs. We also know that there are going to be some kids that are stuck in that portal, and they're not able to go back to their school because their school had to fill their spot, and then they're not going to get a degree. So there's a lot of ways you can look at it. Sean, talk to us about the portal and go into right now who the most intriguing player to you in the portal is right now. Like, if you were a scout for one of these colleges, who would be your number one guy, doesn't matter the position, that you are looking for to add to your team right now?
Yeah, so first off with the portal, a lot of people entering, but that's kind of the thing we're doing now with this whole date and period time that they're allowing you to put your name into the portal. There's a certain amount of time you have to get it in by. A lot of kids are getting it in by this date that we are seeing now where all the kids entered in. That's what we're looking at with the thousands of kids out there. And it's going to be sad because some of them are going to have to go to D2 level. Some of them are going to have to drop down to the FBS level when they've already been D1 before. But that's the risk you take when you go out into the portal. But then there's going to be the kids that go and make a big boom and a big name, like the Caleb Williams and Jordan Addisons of the world that made a huge impact on USC season. Or what Alabama's going to do about picking up portal kids now, because I think they have some holes in their roster next year that they're going to look to fill through the portal this year. Honestly, it's became very much NFL free agency. It's exciting for fan bases of teams with the big collectives and big time things. And the kids do get to move around to where they want. There are always going to be flaws and stuff like this, such as the kid not possibly getting a degree, which is what you go to college for, or taking bad advice and being stuck out in the portal. But for the good parts of it, we get a lot of excitement as college football fans, and I am excited to see that. I believe you're probably going to say Devin Leary for your answer, correct? He's up there for me, so I didn't want to take yours if that's how we're going to go there. I'll let you speak on him more, and I'll rebuttal. So one guy that I'm looking at that I think could make a big impact on a team is actually Spencer Sanders.
Wow.
Your starter. I don't think he's going to be an NFL prospect by any means, which is what I like to scout, but I think he's going to make a big impact on a college team that needs some veteran leadership, that has that QB, that has a good amount of talent around him. I look at him as the Daniels type for LSU, the JT Daniels type. That's what I look at him as. Come in, stabilize a program, maybe have a new coach, some veterans around him, and really make a difference with the program. Brian Kelly brought JT in. JT he struggled for a little bit to start with, and he made his runs at the end of the year. He started to get his run game going and everything. I look at Spencer Sanders as a more plus thrower than Daniels was. I look at Spencer Sanders as a good run game person, and I think he could go learn an offense and really carry a team for a year and maybe make some noise in an SEC. Maybe not the top SEC level, but a mid-tier SEC level, one of the Big Ten schools. So I like Spencer Sanders as a transfer a lot.
I like that, man. That's one that I did not see coming, and I like it because if you actually look at Spencer Sanders' body of work, that Oklahoma State team, they fell apart altogether based on injuries, but they were undefeated. And they were up against TCU undefeated before Spencer Sanders got hurt. He's a veteran quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He is a good college quarterback. And that is a really interesting answer there. Yeah, I'm going to go with Leary, but I will admit, and a lot of people call me crazy because I just can't let go of this guy. There is still something about me that is just so fascinating and curious about DJU. I know he's been rough. I know it, man. And it's hard to keep prompting him up and saying that I know but it's like he's got the talent, man. I can't stop thinking about how terrible that Clemson offensive scheme is. And I really believe if he goes to a Chip Kelly offense, I really believe we could see the DJU that everybody thought could be a number 1 overall pick. I truly believe that. So DJU is on my mind, but Devin Leary is definitely number 1 for me because of what he brings. He is a very good quarterback in college, and he has a chance to be a good NFL quarterback too if things go together. If he goes to a team like Notre Dame that already has a good defense, that has a good running game, again, I don't know how the offensive scheme will work because I do think their offensive scheme is a little bit there as well. But it's better. It might be better than what he had at NC State at least. And that's all that matters. I think Devin Leary is a guy that if he goes to the right team, he can immediately make them a college football playoff contender type team. That's how good I feel about Devin Leary. Will it work out? I don't know. Depending on what schools he goes to, there's a lot of connection to Missouri because Eli Drinkowitz is the head coach there who was the OC at NC State. There's some connection to Illinois. Illinois' got a very good roster. They just need a quarterback. And there's connection to Notre Dame, and he totally fits the bill of Notre Dame. Devin Leary and DJU are two guys that I'm so fascinated in, along with Sam Hartman, but not as much. Those Devin Leary and DJU are my top guys, quarterback-wise, of who I'm fascinated to see where they go from there.
So Sam Hartman, kind of along the lines of a Spencer Sanders, in my opinion, is going to be a top difference maker person right there with all the years that he's played as well. I think he's going to do good. The one thing I worry about him is that slow mesh made for a lot of problems. And it worries me that if he goes to a different system, if the slow mesh kind of made him more or if he kind of made the slow mesh work. So that's one of the ones that I would watch for. Maybe he goes and it's the slow mesh system he goes to. That's also possible. A few teams do run it out there other than Wake Forest. So DJU, like you said, I wanted to hit on the two you said. DJU, I think he's going to go to UCLA. That's my opinion of it. And I think he's going to fit there pretty well. He's not going to be as quick as a DTR, don't get me wrong. He can't run that, but he can run power. And I think it's going to give him some downfield options more so at UCLA than they were doing at Clemson. Honestly, we could probably get into Clemson at a different time because after seeing Cade play against UNC, it becomes more like, why did they keep him on the bench for so long? But yeah, I think DJU is going to be a big impact at a UCLA. I thought he could have gone to Oregon. I don't know if Bo Nix is coming back. I mean, is Bo Nix going to play for 10 years? Is that what's going to happen?
So the rumor on is he going to play for 10? The rumor on Bo Nix is that he is trying to feel out his draft grade right now. And he wants to go to the NFL. But I don't think his draft grade is going to be high. I don't think that they're going to – I think, like, if you – what do you think scouts are going to tell him? I think they're going to tell him to go back.
So I don't know if I'm probably follow and get more crazy about the draft even year-round than you do. You probably start hitting on it after the season, I'm assuming. A lot of people have him like third and fourth, which I find crazy. Like, I would not do that.
At all. No.
That would not be my idea at all either. But a lot of the like insiders, like scouts in the media, like people that say they hear stuff from teams, they like him, man. It's weird. Like I don't see it personally, but having it third or fourth. So I don't know. Is it possible? If I was him, if I got a third or fourth round grade, I would
go,
dude, because I don't think you're going to do as well next year with Dillingham gone.
Agreed. I would go.
So that's the one thing I worry with that. Yeah. So,
and I think he will go. If he gets a third or fourth round grade, and then I think he will peace out, and Oregon will be an option for DJU. Dude, think about the schools that need quarterbacks as of right now, man.
That's what I was going to get into with you. There's a lot of schools that need quarterbacks. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there transfer.
Yes. It's crazy.
I mean, I was getting the names wrong. Jaden Daniels was for LSU. JT Daniels is in the portal. I was thinking about him as well. He's constant.
That's
Yeah.
literally his like 5th time transferring, bro.
Yeah, the constant journeyman out there. So I was getting my names confused there for a second. We got Keaton Slovis is back in the portal. We got we got Hartman out there. But a lot of these teams, like you said, I think that UCLA is very intriguing. I think Bama's going to be looking in the portal, to be
Ohio
honest.
State.
I think Ohio State's going to be looking in the portal. I think an intriguing option is actually Oregon State. You get a good run game. Jonathan Smith's a great coach, and your defense is going to be solid. I think they're going to be smart, a smart quarterback option. That's one of those Sam Hartman fits too that I would like. But I don't know if Sam would like to go all the way across country like that. Oregon State's kind of its own little animal. Kind of got to have some West Coast in you to go out there. It's a small area in Corvallis, but I think Oregon State's a very good place to transfer to. You got Hudson Card out there; he's leaving too. I know you're bigger on Hudson Card than I am, but I think he'll be smart. Oh, not anymore. I know when he first came in, you kind of liked how he's playing.
I did like him coming in. I didn't like what I saw this year when yours went down. I did, though. You're right, coming in. I think Oregon State's a spot for DJU too. I just would look out for him. I think it would be awesome. And you're right. Corvallis is out there, man. You got to really be ready to move out there. But hey, they've got a phenomenal program. I just think that for once in a long time, man, we are going to see top programs. I mean, top of the Georgia. Georgia needs a quarterback. Who's Georgia's quarterback next year? Stetson Bennett is gone. So there's Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. There are so many schools that might need quarterbacks right now, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens from here.
Let me ask you this. Right now. Bigger struggle right now, having A&M have all their portal kids go, or UNC doing the same thing, because they were both like top 8 recruiting classes from last year. A&M, I don't think, is losing a ton of their last year guys. They're losing some of them, but not a ton, which is good because that's who they need to keep. And that's probably why a lot of these starters are transferring out, because they're about to lose their job. UNC, on the other hand, you kind of see it falling apart. Thankfully, they kept Drake May. How are you feeling about those two programs with the transfer portal right now?
So this UNC to me is way more shocking. I think we all kind of believed after what happened to Texas A&M season that kids were going to transfer out. That turned into a mess. There was discipline issues. Kids were doing whatever the hell they want. I think we saw that something like that was going to happen. It's still a bad look. Now, he does go out and get Reuben Owens, which is a great look for Jimbo. But the problem with Jimbo is he clearly isn't willing to change. And I think guys are seeing that, and players are smart enough now, and they're leaving. UNC to me is a shock. And I mean this with no disrespect to Chapel Hill. This is just the damn truth. A 9-4 season for UNC is really good. I mean, who does UNC think they are? They just went to the Coastal Championship. They just went to the ACC Championship game. Literally, the ACC Championship game. They went 9-4, and everyone's acting like the damn sky is falling off. I don't get it, man. I don't know who they think they are as a program or what these kids are thinking. That should be a successful year. We should be rewarding that. It should be like a high spirits, and now everything's falling apart. What's going on at UNC is the biggest shock to me. But with that being said, they kept Drake May, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I was going to say, keeping Drake May helps them out a lot. And honestly, that should get a top receiver or two that wants to go play there, because Josh Downs' target share is going to be gone to the NFL. So you would think if you feel like you're a number one guy and you're out there in the portal right now, you would think UNC would be a solid option, given that you're going to have quarterback play at a higher level to throw to. And things like that. The rest of the team leaving, I don't understand that at all. I don't know if that's a collective issue. Like I said, I don't know if this is NIL kind of stuff rearing its head. I'm sure Drake May just got paid, and that's why he stayed. I'm sure that was his whole ploy thing with might test the transfer portal out. That's kind of what me and you texted about when it happens. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel. But the rest of the team, that's something else. Like I said with A&M, I think they're going to be a little better off because they did keep a lot of their freshmen from this year. So those guys are going to just take starting roles. They didn't lose their whole recruiting class, which is good. That's just an interesting part of this portal thing to me is that you can go as a freshman, get paid immediately, transfer directly out. That's
And
something that I'm curious if that's going to still be going on in the next 5 years. I almost feel like the NIL is going to become more free agency, where they throw big money at people in the portal and instead of the high school kids coming in because they're more of sure thing guaranteed players. That's something I'm looking at. Let me ask you this before we move on something. I've been able to confirm it. Did Tyler Van Dyke transfer?
no, that's literally the question that's so funny you asked that. I was going to ask you that. I have not heard anything on Tyler Van Dyke and why. He better transfer, bro. Coming into this year under Rhett Lashley, we were all raving about him.
Well,
I
you were
was
very
in
high.
love.
I mean,
I was
very high on
I
him.
mean, dude, I was in love with him. I was talking about how I would take him 3 overall if the Falcons had a threat. And now look how dumb that looks. He cannot stay in that offense, right? But I haven't seen anything of it. I haven't heard a single thing about Tyler Van Dyke.
I've seen articles saying he should, and then I saw one saying it was, but I don't know how credible the source was. I'm trying to figure out if he's in the portal or not either because I feel the same way. He was like a potential top 10 draft pick watch list guy this year. And Anthony Richardson's just going to go pro either way. He's going all in, even though I think he should be a back first round pick or second round pick, to be honest. I wouldn't take him that high, but I think somebody will. That's where I'm projecting him to go. I think Tyler Van Dyke needs to transfer out and get his stock back up because honestly, Cristobal at this point, he's the quarterback killer in college.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you. If Van Dyke does transfer, and they already lost Jalen Rashada, he already decommitted and went to Florida. Who is going to go to Miami as a transfer and want to hook your wagon to that offense and be like, yeah, that's where I'm going to go revive my career? I don't understand that one at all. They have to be paying a pretty penny for any.
And they are.
In there.
And they are. They've got that billionaire guy. That's the only thing that they're doing because other than that, I don't see how anybody would like to go there. It's the only reason why you can have such a bad, terrible season. They still have a bunch of top 10 players coming in because they're paying the hell out of those guys. I mean, that was a disaster season, and Mario's got to get that turned around. But it's a great question. I want to know what's going to happen with Van Dyke. It's someone I'm totally going to be watching. If you look at it real quick, man, and then we'll move on here. As everything looks, Travis, why did I just forget his name? The dude at Florida State.
Jordan Travis.
Yeah. Jordan Travis right now and Florida State with everything that's happened is looking like, and how they finished the season. I mean, they're looking prime to do something. Now, do you trust Florida State enough?
No, I don't trust them, but they look like number 2 team on paper right now. That's how that. I mean, because UNC, I think they go down a peg. Sadly, I think Duke's actually getting better. We mentioned their coach Elko, Coach Elko a lot. Love him to get a big job next year somewhere. Especially if he keeps this Duke team on track. NC State's always up in the air with how they are. You never know what's going on. With Wake Forest losing Hartman, though, honestly, it's going to be Clemson and kind of Florida State next year, in my opinion. And Clemson luckily righted the ship, getting Cade in there in time. But again, the ACC is on shaky ground right now. That's for sure, and that's coming from 2 guys that live in the ACC neck of the woods area kind of thing. It's just kind of looking rough out there right now. So that's something to watch going forward for next year. And what do you want to move on to next?
Let's move on to Colorado and Deion Sanders here.
Yes, the transfer quarterback that was already named quarterback 1.
Yeah, let's. I mean, this guy showed up and did everything the way he wanted to do. He made players repeat things that after telling them you're getting kicked out of this school, you're transferring and all that stuff. That is shocking to me how that went down, but it's Deion Sanders. I want to hear your thoughts on Deion Sanders before I give my thoughts on him going to Colorado.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge proponent of the Colorado move. I thought he should have went to Cincinnati, but honestly, after seeing him, I kind of like it, man. He's energized about it. He's ready to go. And what we talked about when we first mentioned the rumor there and everything, USC and UCLA is going to be gone here soon. So that conference is going to have a huge void of people looking to take it over with the playoff going to 12. Deion's going to be right there after he gets this year of transfer kids in. I think he's going to be there, and I think he's going to compete very quickly in the conference. I believe they're going to get a stacked team coming from some of the portal. I think they're going to have the most lively portal like USC did last year. I think you're going to see a big aspect of Colorado doing that too. Because I do underrate the fact, just because I haven't lived out there, Colorado is actually a nice place to live. Most everyone that talks about Colorado loves it there. They love living out in the area, and people talk about the campus like it's a nice campus. I think now you get Deion's personality on top of it. The one thing I worry about is the money thing. I don't know any Colorado boosters, and they acted like at the press conference, they're like, "We'll get the money." Like they already didn't have the money for Deion.
I know.
That's one thing that would concern me. But I think next year with him and Shedeur there, with the transfer portals coming in, I think they can make an immediate impact, not to compete for a championship or anything, but to make some noise in the Pac-12 and to really give USC and teams like that a run, because I think they're going to be very solid. They're probably going to be the second most talented team before it's all said and done in the conference. And I think Deion kind of knows exactly what he's doing. I like hiring the guy from Bama that they did and Mike Zimmer as an analyst. I like where he's going with the staff. I think Deion's going to have that thing turned around. I would have rather him been at Cincinnati, but I can't fault him for taking Colorado, especially if they're going to put the resources behind him to kind of see his vision through. I think they can be solid next year and really good competing in the long term.
I do too. I love his staff hiring. That's something that was so important. You're not going to be able to do your thing, Deion, unless you hire a right staff. He went out and got Sean Lewis, who's a offensive-minded guy, did a great job at Kent State. He went and got a guy off Alabama's defensive staff. Clearly, he's hiring the right guys. I think that this is really important because I said when we did a show last that I didn't think Colorado made a lot of sense. Like, I just didn't think the fit made sense, and I still don't. But what we've learned is this, and for those that don't follow this closely, this is super important. Colorado's a school not to Stanford's level, not that close, but they're a school that you have a problem bringing in transfers because they require a certain amount of requirements. Unlike these SEC schools and these other schools, they'll just make up things to get you in. And that's the truth. Stanford, the reason why they're having so much trouble is they're not on board with transfer portals. I think they had one transfer on their team all year because they don't allow it because you have to have a certain criteria. Now, Colorado announced that they are going to change that, and they're going to make up a bunch of stuff basically to let transfers come in. That's huge. I'm sure Deion put in his contract, you have to change this, otherwise I'm not going, because everything you said is spot on. He is building this team through the transfer window. Sean, I wouldn't be shocked if he brings in 50 people. I'm not even kidding. I wouldn't be shocked if he brings in 50 players in the transfer portal to create that team. I cannot wait to see how good his son is or how his son does in a Power 5 conference. I can't wait to see how he does as a coach out there. All eyes will be on Colorado. Their first game is at TCU, by the way. So they open up in a tough. Then they play Nebraska and Matt Rule. So there's some tough things going on there, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm happy Deion got this job, and I can't wait to see how he does with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel too. It's going to be that's 2 straight games right there, star-studded. It's going to be fun because Matt Rule's got a big turnaround on his hands for that week 2 matchup, and TCU. Even though they're going to lose Duggan and Quentin Johnson and everything, Sonny Dykes can coach. They're going to have a good squad coming back too. That's going to be fun to see. I can't wait to see how Deion does out the gate and deep into the future. Now, how do you like that projection, by the way, that I was making about USC and UCLA? You think Deion can come and run the conference a little bit like I do? I think him and Oregon can go head-to-head really easily right after that with the resources and personality.
I think that he will be the hottest thing in the Pac-12 once they leave. He might even be the hottest thing in the Pac-12, even with them there. I do think that Lincoln Riley still has a lot of shine, and people are going to want to look
there, being there too. Yeah. That's the problem next year.
Yeah, but other than that, man, you got Oregon, you got Utah, and Washington. I do like what Washington is doing, and I love Michael Penix. By the way, you want to talk about a huge win for Washington? The fact that Penix is coming back. That he was one of the best quarterbacks down the stretch last year. So I do believe your thought on they could run. They could run the Pac-12, and Colorado could be one of the most fun places to watch. I can't wait to see how it goes from here. Anything else you want to hit on before we move into the NFL sphere?
I know. I think, real quick, I think Brom going to Louisville is actually a small move by Louisville. Louisville probably would have paid to get their old coach out of there, even though he went hired away.
No doubt.
That was one of the weirder moves that we saw in the offseason right now. I didn't want to spend too much time on that, but I thought that was like a huge W by Louisville to even have that happen.
It's a massive win by Louisville. And they're saying that this is like one of the most exciting times there. And I get it because they basically wanted Satterfield gone so bad. And shit, good for Satterfield. He got Cincinnati's job for doing what? I mean, what did he do to be able to get Cincinnati's job? It's a home run. Brom is a hell of a coach, man. Like a hell of a coach.
I mean, he gave Urban Meyer them fits with Purdue.
Yeah.
I mean, just constant.
And he's going to have more resources at Louisville than he had at Purdue. Don't get me wrong. Purdue has resources and all that, but they dish out money over there at the Ville. So there's going to be a good stuff going on there. ACC, after having a down year, maybe there's some ups and there's some downs. A lot of quarterbacks left, and then now you're starting to get a little bit better schools like Louisville, and we'll see what happens from there. All right, let's move on to NFL here. The NFL, man, is fascinating right now. We're finally starting to get to that period where we can really see who the contenders are and who the teams that, okay, you're going to be there in the end, we believe, and you're clearly just not that good. You got a team tonight in the Raiders that are fighting for their lives now that they've won a couple games. Can they win out and get themselves back in the hunt? Then you've got teams that are just straight up killing it, like the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Bills. But let's talk about this Bengals team, Sean, because they are the first team that we've seen in this Mahomes era that actually not only will go toe-to-toe with them, but will continue to beat them. They are not scared of Kansas City. They believe they are better than Kansas City. Burrow believes he's better than Mahomes. It's actually really shocking to see because you have this dynamic in the AFC where the Bills can't beat Kansas City and Kansas City can't beat now the Bengals. So it's like this three-triangle thing going on here. We'll see what happens because the Bills and the Bengals play on Monday Night Football later this year. So we'll see what happens there. What are your thoughts on this whole Bengals-Chiefs thing? Do you think there's something to this that the Chiefs really just can't get over this team? Or who are you crediting for this?
Oh, I think there's a little something to it. And everyone in the media just falls all over it and says it's Joe Burrow just outplaying Mahomes and stuff. Honestly, it's what we've been talking about for a while now. But by the end of last season, if you listen to the show, which I mean we've had some growth since then, so maybe you didn't hear those shows. We've been touting Lou Amarillo. We've been touting
forever.
Yeah, we've been touting him since before we knew the dude's name. We called him the Bengals defensive coordinator for like 3 straight weeks because we just didn't know his name. But we were like, man, the Bengals will like give up a touchdown or like a field goal or something, or like 10 points in the first, and then just absolutely clamp people in the second half. And we're like, man, those halftime adjustments are scary. And I think what you're seeing is the person that everyone's most scared of, which is Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, which is still Patrick Mahomes.
Yes,
has one defensive coordinator that really will kind of just go out there with a different game plan every time because they come out different every single time and be like, okay, that's not working after a series or two, and kind of start changing coverage up, changing blitz package up. And then all of a sudden in the second half, he'll have a whole new game plan going, and it shuts Mahomes out in that second half when they can't make adjustments to it. It's something that I think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid probably are looking at themselves like, we meet these people in the playoffs, this team, this Bengals team, we're going to need to have plan A, B, and C ready to go for whatever adjustments they have, and we're going to see much more of a chess match because I think that's what's been happening so far in these matchups. Mahomes has been scoring in the first half, but in the second half, he can't get anything going.
Points.
And literally, I've seen it happen with them blitzing people. He's dropped 8 into coverage before, which only I believe I saw a stat. The only people that's dropped 8 into coverage on Patrick Mahomes before has been Belichick. Belichick's the only one to do that. That was that year the Patriots went to the Super Bowl in the AFC Championship game. He was dropping 8 into coverage. But it takes a lot of, like, stones to actually drop 8 into coverage and like, play it this way. And the Bengals don't have the personnel the Patriots had that year. But credit to the defense, that's what they do, and it slows Mahomes down. So I like that he takes this team that honestly the Bengals don't have a ton of talent on defense. Let's
No.
be honest. How many can you name? I can name like 4 or 5 because I pay attention to it. I can't name their whole starting 9 or 11, like their whole 11. It's not like San Francisco where you know 9 or 10 people on their defense. It's insane what this man's doing, and he should get a head coaching job next year, especially over some of these other defense coordinators we're seeing thrown around. I can't believe he doesn't get mentioned for more jobs. While Burrow does play great, and Burrow is a top 5 quarterback, and he does play Mahomes well head to head, it's all about that Bengals defense that really swings this rivalry, and it's going to be something to watch going forward if Andy and Mahomes can kind of figure them out, especially in the second half.
Agreed. And this is the thing, man. I'm glad you brought this up, and I'm glad you said this on our little pre-show meeting here, because me and you have been saying this for days. But Sean, why do we not hear anybody talk about this defensive coordinator?
I've heard D'Amico Ryans for like 6 different jobs.
It's only us, man. I mean, I listen to every freaking sports show out there. That's all I do during the day. I work at night. During the day, I'm sitting there watching sports, every show, because that's what me and Sean love to do. Nobody brings up this guy's name. He is one of the best defensive coordinators, one of the best coaches I've seen. Like, the way he schemes to get these guys to play when he doesn't have that much talent. And you're right about D'Amico Ryans. And we're not here to kill D'Amico because he's great, because D'Amico Ryans is great. But holy hell, look at that talent. I mean, look at the talent that San Francisco has on their defense. Who are the guys that the Bengals have? Yeah, Trey Henderson is good, but that's it. You've got a couple other guys in the secondary that's decent. But other than that, like, this guy is literally scheming the greatest quarterback in the world right now to not be able to do anything. Now, on the other hand, Andy Reid made some mistakes. I don't know why you're trying to kick that field goal and all this stuff, but I'm not going to lie, man. And I hate to say this to Buffalo fans, but to me right now, the more intriguing AFC matchup is this matchup. I know that everyone loves the Bills. I get it. I'm more intrigued by this, man. And I think right now, these are the 2 teams that we might get in the AFC Championship. I think that Von Miller injury is a big one. And let's move on to that. What are your thoughts on Von Miller going down? How does this make you feel about the Bills? And what are your thoughts on my take right there about this is the matchup that we want to see?
I could see that being the matchup for sure. That's the one I want to see too. The chess match. Can Mahomes finally get over the top of that? And I also like the whole Bengals redemption run, because they came close to winning that Super Bowl last year. They were about half a second away from Burrow being able to see Chase beating Ramsey down the field.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Aaron Donald being on him, that's how close they were to winning that thing. So I actually like that matchup a lot. The thing with Buffalo, they're so Josh Allen dependent, man. It's bad, because Vaughn actually kind of took the pressure off of him a little bit. It wasn't that he was just constant sacking. It was just one person. It was just the way he energized the rest of the pass rush, the leadership he had on that D line, the way they were able to rotate in and out and keep him fresh for that fourth quarter so he could make the big play when you needed him. Mm-hmm. He was kind of the heart of that defense that needed a guy, and he was that guy. I think they're going to miss him a lot, especially when it comes to playoff time, because when you're talking about a Burrow and a Mahomes, you got to put pressure on these guys, especially off the edge too. I just, especially Mahomes off the edge. If you want to beat Mahomes, you got to hit him off the edge, because he's going to roll out of pressure up. You don't even want to hit him up the middle. He's going to roll out and hit a big play on you. That edge rushing position for Vaughn, that was a big-time player they needed. They saw that, signed him. The ACL, that's just such a big blow to that defense. And now it puts even more pressure on Josh Allen, who's prone to making some mistakes.
Yes.
Don't know how his shoulder and elbow area is feeling. That's something to watch going forward. But I think this kind of puts Buffalo as that 3rd team in the AFC, even though they have the best record right now. I think the home field might can help them some, but I think they're more the 3rd team in my opinion.
I agree. I think it's a tough loss, man. They're definitely still talented enough to win it all. There's no doubt about that, but it is a tough loss. Sean, let's talk about the team that Buffalo's actually playing this week in the New York Jets. A surprise of the year, 7-5, done a great job. Give credit to Robert Saleh, who I actually started to think was not cut out for this job, but what he's doing with those guys he has on defense is phenomenal. They outplayed the Vikings last week. They just couldn't score. And my good friend, Braxton Berrios, I feel so bad for him, man, because he had that pass and he dropped it. And I know he's killing himself right now, because if he caught that, they win the game, and it wasn't work. It unfortunately didn't happen. Look, Robert Saleh is still saying things like our goal is to get Zach Wilson back out there. That's horseshit, man. You can't get Zach Wilson back out there. You got Garrett Wilson saying, I love Mike White. I'll do anything for him. You got teammates showing up with Mike White shirts on. I mean, is that not a slap in the face to the Zach Wilson or what? They are rallying around Mike White. Now, we'll get your thoughts on if Mike White is a legit quarterback or not. But whatever the thoughts are on that, that doesn't matter. What matters is he's a better quarterback than Zach Wilson right now. And unless he gets hurt, I don't think you can put Zach Wilson out there. What happens? Is Zach Wilson's time as a Jet over?
I believe so. I don't think you can put him back out there. His team hates him, man.
I agree.
Like not the front office or Robert Saleh or anything. His teammates hate this dude. Like, have you seen a player get treated this way before? Like when they get benched or anything like that? I haven't seen this before. Period. They hate this man.
They don't like him at all.
I mean, Elijah Moore was like finally catching balls, and this whole team's like, "Yeah, he's free Elijah Moore, free E." Like they're hyped up. Like they knew the dude wasn't going to get the ball with Zach Wilson back there, and the whole team's rallied behind him. They're all hyped up about it. It's insane to see a number 2 pick, honestly, go to this way. We weren't big Zach Wilson guys, I don't think. We had him ranked definitely below Fields. And I think had him close with Lance. I think you had Lance over him coming in. I didn't expect him to just get destroyed based on simple knowing how to handle the media stuff, kind of stuff, because that's what's killing him. Not only can he not play, he didn't take any accountability. Apparently the reports are he's walking around the locker room not being accountable. This dude's done, man. They can say what they want to. You can't put him back out there, especially not with Mike White playing this way. And even if he wasn't playing this way, the dude's still a backup. The team's rallied around Mike White at this point. Look at how Garrett Wilson's performing these last few weeks. Look at how Elijah Moore's performing now. Look at how the team has rallied around Mike White. You can't take him out for anything and put Zach Wilson back in. You just can't do it. That's going to be a pick. I mean, are you willing to say he's a bust? Because I don't know if he's going to be able to revive his career at this point. The dude's kind of toxic. I mean, really, he is kind of toxic.
I mean, dude, like, how dumb do you have to be to answer that question?
Oh.
Like you just have to be so unaware of just like life. Like you really have to be so unaware of what is going on to so quickly answer that question when they say, or did you let your defense down? No, not at all. Yeah, you let your defense down. And even if you don't think you did, you say you did. That's what you do as a teammate. That's what you do as a quarterback. I think you're onto something. Think about it. And listeners out there, tell us, think about a time where we've seen teammates so publicly against and so for a backup like we're seeing right now. You can't name it. You cannot name a time. I think he's done. And now the bigger question is, Sean, can he play even, man? Like, I don't think Zach – listen, you liked his talent, but you love talent. You never said he was going to be some – you had Fields number 2, and just like me, you had Fields number 2. You had – me and you also had Lawrence number 1, Fields number 2. We both were there. You liked his talent, but we both were worried about him as a player. I don't know. He's the number 2 overall pick. He's obviously going to get another chance. But I don't see how anybody can realistically look at him and be like, this guy can play in the NFL.
I mean, the dude can't make reads. I mean, simple reads. Like he can't get in and out of progressions. Like it's bad, man. Watching his film's bad. It's bad to watch. And I know Jets fans were like big on the dude coming in, and now they can't wait to get rid of him. So they've kind of seen the light a little bit. I think the Jets are actually a good story. I like them a lot. I think they're a good team. Same. I think that Mike White, I've got to see more of Mike White before I can say if he's the guy going forward. But I think he's a better option than a lot of the people that would be out there, unless Derek Carr's getting traded or unless something like that happens. But Derek Carr's kind of turned it around. I think he might be there. So I don't think there's going to be a guy you can upgrade with unless somebody falls in the draft. But you got to go forward with Mike White right now, the way he's playing, especially. But credit to Robert Saleh. That defense, me and you have talked about that defensive alignment several times. I've always been shitting on that alignment because since what we've now known for this defense, the Pete Carroll defense, to work, you have to have immense talent in order to make the defense work. What do we see in Dallas? Micah Parsons just wrecks the game, and they have Trayvon Diggs on the back end. What we see with the Legion of Boom, you had all those players. Now you look at Robert Saleh. He has Sauce Gardner locking everybody up, and then he gets heat. And it's mostly from Quentin Williams up the middle, but he gets heat every time. And Quincy Williams actually makes a ton of tackles. Sad to see him not on the Jags anymore. I mean, we had him in a trade. We released him and drafted 2 linebackers and paid one, so we could have just had him for $1 million. But I'm glad to see him flourishing out in New York. On that defense, though, if you're moving forward, if you hire anybody, if you hire D'Amico Ryans, because he's of the same ilk, you got to have talent for that defense to work. It's not a scheme-based defense at all. But credit to the Jets. They've built a juggernaut of a defense out there, and it works with that scheme. So that's a good thing going forward if you're a New York Jets fan.
Yeah. If you want evidence, just look at what Dan Quinn did with the Falcons defense. And now look what's happening. What's the difference? They have Micah Parsons. They have guys that are really good.
Falcons y'all had Vic Beasley for 1 year.
Yeah. Hey, look, when Vic Beasley that 1 year looked like Micah Parsons, we went to the Super Bowl. And then he never looked like that again, and everything fell off. You're exactly right, man. You're exactly right. So I'm happy for Dan Quinn. And I'm happy for the Jets, man. But overall, I do think that they make the playoffs. Do you agree?
I think they do too, because we'll probably talk about the Chargers at some point in this. I think the Chargers are the ultimate choke artist.
Yeah, which let's jump into the Chargers right now, man. This might be one of the most disappointing seasons with the amount of money they spent, with the amount of talent they had. And I know that there's a lot of injuries out there on the wide receiver front, on everything. But this isn't acceptable. Brandon Staley's gonna get fired if they don't make the playoffs. I think that's pretty obviously. I know you have a big take on this, so I'll let you start with it. But and I think they're more disappointing than the Raiders, because I like the Raiders, but I wasn't that high on the Raiders. I was very high on the Chargers. I had the Chargers almost going to the AFC Championship game. It's very sad to see what's happening with them. I think they are in must-win territory Sunday night against the Dolphins for them to have any shot to make the playoffs. What are your thoughts on the Chargers and Justin Herbert and what's going on?
So the Chargers are just ultimately disappointing. And let me get this out there first. I don't buy Brandon Staley. I've never been a big Brandon Staley buyer. I've never had stock in him at all. So everyone's going to blame Brandon Staley for this, obviously. Here's where I want to get in with the whole Chargers being disappointing, because they are. They've been the most disappointing team, in my opinion, because they were legit getting picked as like Super Bowl teams out there. And they might not make the playoffs. I don't think they will.
Yeah.
They have a shot, but I really don't think they will at all. Here's my take that I want to make out here. I'm not going to do the whole Emmanuel Acho clickbait shit. Tua is not better than Herbert. I'm not trying to say that. Acho is all about that shit right now. Tua is not better than Herbert. But where I will agree with him, Herbert gets no blame. Have you ever seen you've brought it up in the NBA with some people not getting blame? Yeah. I haven't seen an NFL player just get no blame for anything happening to them at all.
Same.
That literally his team could probably lose every game, and they'd be like, it's not on Herbert. Like, it's not on him. Look at what he's dealing with. So here's where I have an issue squaring this. The last 2 years, all I've heard is Herbert's the guy. He's one of the top 3-4 quarterbacks in the league. Look at everything about him. He's just great.
I'm a victim of that. I even said that.
But then the same people, not you necessarily, I'm talking about the main media, the same people will throw shade on Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, all these guys, not throwing to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and everybody and all of that. And they're like, well, why is Trevor Lawrence not playing like a generational prospect? Why is Justin Fields kind of looks like a bust out there, this and that? And I get that's where the whole Tua thing came in, and they try to make that comparison. Here's my problem with squaring it like that. Now the same people that were hyping Herbert like that, it's all because everyone's injured this year now. That's my issue. If you're going to give the same credit to her, if you're going to give the same blame to everyone else, then Herbert deserves some blame this year for where they're at. because these other quarterbacks that were losing games and not doing all that, they didn't have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen those 2 years that Herbert was putting up those stats. They didn't play in empty arenas his first rookie year where you didn't have to worry about crowd noise. They didn't have all that. And I know that then everyone's response is, well, Brandon Staley's bad. He doesn't have an offensive coach. Well, again, Justin Fields has a defensive coach this year. Trevor had a horrible coach last year. What I just want is some even criticism and even everything when we're talking about players like that. Because I believe Joe Burrow is better than Herbert, which I think a lot of people came around on. For a while, that was not the case.
Yeah.
Have you seen Burrow this year? He hasn't had Chase.
No.
He's had a bad O-line. Zach Taylor's questionable as shit too as a coach. Everybody's questionable about him. What happens there? Burrow kind of carries them out there. He carries them to victories on offense. That's what I want to see Justin Herbert do. I know he has a lot of fourth quarter comebacks everybody brings up. But here's the deal. He's not playing good enough right now, but he's catching no blame. And I just want to see him get a little bit of blame when he throws a pick at the end of the game against the Chiefs and everyone's like, that was on the receiver, or when he throws some wild picks off his back foot at the end to end the game and not drive his team down the field. I want to hear some, that's kind of on Justin there. He's got to do better like everyone else gets. He's one of the only players I've seen gets no blame at all for his team's losses, and that's where I want to square that.
Yeah, there's really not much more I can add to that. You're spot on. I can't debate it. I can only agree with it because not only are we getting the injury thing, we're getting the nonstop. Oh my God, this Brandon Staley guy can't coach worth a damn. And guess what? That might be true. But the way people have talked about Justin Herbert, me included, expect him to be able to rise above that Brandon Staley nonsense. I expect him to rise above Keenan Allen being hurt at times because I think he's that good. I think he's as good as someone that can do that. And we're not giving that. Trevor Lawrence has a terrible game. We're not talking about how he's only throwing to Christian freaking Kirk out there, who I don't even like that much, who has had a good season.
1,000 this year. He's actually looking good because Trevor's having to throw to him.
Who's actually having a good season. But that we don't talk about that. So you're spot on, man. There's the level of blame. And I don't know why this is. I don't know if it's because Herbert just looks so damn good out there. Literally just the way he looks, like his stature and his body and everything. He just looks good. Maybe that's it. I don't know what it is, but it's nonsense and it's not fair. And I completely agree. Now, this is the thing though. This year will go and Brandon Staley will get fired and they'll bring in an offensive coach. And if things start off bad, then we have to start really having a conversation about who this Herbert guy is. Because everybody still likes him. Everybody still thinks he has great talent. But there's all these excuses out there for him. And you're so right about it's not fair how we talk about that, but we don't bring that up for guys like Lawrence and Fields and other guys. We need to start looking about who Herbert really is. I'm not saying he's not the true franchise guy. I think he is. But it's starting to get to the point where, come on, man. You can beat the Raiders. Beat the Raiders. Yeah. That's all you have to do. You can't beat the Raiders?
Yeah. No, let me even throw this at you. Everyone kind of agrees that Mahomes and Josh Allen are the two best quarterbacks right now. Josh Allen gets crushed for some of his picks that he throws. Destroyed. And they are bad decisions, and he deserves it. Like I said, I saw Herbert in the game throwing off his back foot with very little pressure on the second down play. Yeah. That was crickets. I didn't hear a word about that. He had a chance to drive down, tie up the game, maybe win it. Threw that pick off his back foot. All we heard was how Staley was making mistakes in there. That's all I want. And I'm not even hating on Justin Herbert. I like Justin Herbert too. He's a top 5-8 quarterback in the league, in my opinion, as well. I'm not just hating on Justin Herbert. I'm saying that at some point you've got to give blame to people as well when you're going to give them praise at the same time. You can't praise him for the 2 years that he did while killing everyone else and then make the same excuses that you were killing everyone else for. That's where I have to draw a little bit of a pattern there. You got to give guys a chance if you're going to do it that way. So that's where I'm at on the whole Justin Herbert thing. Still a top 8 guy, but let's at least criticize. The guy makes bad throws every now and then. It happens. It does happen.
Yeah, you got to be fair. I don't see how anybody can debate that. If you can, bring it on. We'll see what you have to say in the comment section. Or just hit up Sean on Twitter and give it to his DMs at Dumpster Fire Fan. All right, this is the Money Down Pod. What was there something else you wanted to bring up before we got out of here? I forgot.
No, I think we were solid on that. Well, we'll have some more topics coming through again. Like I said, holidays gets busy. We'll be getting back ramped up. And a lot of this is on me, my work schedule, but we'll be a lot better.
Mine's awful and crazy too. One question for you and for the audience before we get out of here. With things that happen in San Francisco, Brock Purdy now in. And by the way, man, listen. You remember I used to tell you how I really liked Brock Purdy and I thought he could be a good NFL
quarterback? Was on Brock Purdy for like 3 straight years at Iowa State before the season would start. This guy right here, man, he's going to make a run to the first round this year. Watch him. I'd always watch him at his worst games too. Like it would be the
Sean
worst.
Had to basically sit me down like, bro, this guy sucks. And I was like, all right, you're right. But listen, in Shanahan's system, you never know. Just quick question. Are Eagles by far the favorites for you to get out of the NFC? Or do you still believe in San Francisco? Do you believe in the Cowboys? Do you believe in Tampa? Like right now sitting, is there even somebody that you're willing to say you think can beat Philly right now?
I want to say Dallas because of the defense, but I just don't trust Dak, man. That's my
dude.
issue.
I can totally see Dallas losing in Tampa on the first weekend.
I can too. Brady's never lost to the Cowboys until they actually beat Tom Brady. I'm not going to bet against Brady against the Cowboys. Exactly. Same thing with Rodgers. This year, remember that this year everybody was like, "Yeah, Cowboys got Rodgers down here." I'm like, do you not realize this dude kills y'all every single year? Like it's not happening. That's my issue with the Cowboys. I think if the Cowboys could play the Eagles, they match up the best in the NFC.
Agree.
Outside of maybe San Fran, but now with Brock Purdy back there, as much as I'm not a big Jimmy G guy, Brock Purdy's like the lesser version of Jimmy G, so I can't really buy that either. That would have to be an ultimate like Shanahan scheme game, which is kind of weird, man. Let's be honest. Isn't it weird that Shanahan has Brock Purdy looking better than he had Trey Lance looking? Like, can we be honest with that? Isn't it a little strange that Shanahan he has his guy that he likes, and that's like who he fits in his system every time?
Listen, what you're getting at, he doesn't like Trey Lance. Like, let's just say what it is, bro. He doesn't like Trey. He likes his guys, man. You're spot on about that. Last question here, because I think this is fascinating. Tonight, rumors are Baker Mayfield might play, which I think is a complete disservice to him, and I think it's so unfair if they put him in. It's 4 freaking days, man. Is this Baker Mayfield's last chance to be an NFL quarterback?
I think he's got till the end of the season because I don't think
not just tonight. I just mean like this stint with the Rams.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, if at worst, he'll come back as their backup for a year because I mean. Is Stafford going to be okay moving forward? Like,
I think Sean McVay might leave.
But I mean, Stafford just in general. I know he has the contract, so he's not going to retire. But like, if he pops 1 concussion a year at this point, he's probably out, right?
I agree.
I don't see him standing back there being like $200 million in and a Super Bowl and just getting concussed constantly. Like, I don't see that happening. So Baker Mayfield will have a shot in LA because they aren't going to have any ammo or draft capital to get another quarterback. So he might have a shot there. I don't see him moving in free agency and going somewhere else and being a starter or anything like that. So outside of spot starts, or maybe I think the Rams might be his best situation, to be honest. That's the only way I see it. He's going to have to look good right here too in the system, and in order for that to happen. How do you feel about it?
I think this is it, man. I don't see Baker being a backup in the NFL. I think this is it. I think he's going to go do media if it doesn't work out. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he will take a paycheck and be a backup. I just don't know. But I do think Baker has a shot to be good. But my goodness, man, the Rams are in such a weird situation. They could be destroyed. I mean, they could seriously be terrible for the next 10 years, next 5, 6, 7 years with how things are. I don't know. Like, is Stafford and Kupp coming back going to be enough next year? Is Donald even going to play anymore? There's so many questions with the Rams that I don't think we have enough answers to. And I do just want to change the subject real quick to end it. Desmond Ridder starting for the Falcons after the bye week. I'm not sure how it's going to go. I'm not sure, but I think that this is the right move because we got to find out who he is, man. Because we got to find out if we're going to draft someone or not. You agree, right?
Completely agree. You got to put the man in there, see
Yeah.
what he has, and you get how many games you're going to get 4 or 5 out of him.
4.
You're gonna get your 4 or 5 games on film to where, hey, if he does good, off season's looking good, you can kind of build some tape and
Yeah.
with some momentum, build an offense around him. If he looks bad, you don't like his off season, all of a sudden the draft comes up, you have that tape to be like, yeah, we're gonna need a guy. This guy isn't gonna work. You kind of got to get that in there because Pickett looked awful for those 2 games. Pickett's starting to play pretty
Yeah.
good for Pittsburgh now. You've got to start getting a little bit of games like that back and forth to kind of get that draft off. Because if you'd have asked me after the first 2 games with Pittsburgh picking in the top 5, I'd have been like, yeah, they're going to need to draft another quarterback. Now it doesn't look like that at all. So this is going to be something for, is Ritter going to be the guy next year, or is it time to look in the draft? So I think it's good that you're going to get him out there. That's a very smart move on y'all's part.
I agree. Arthur Smith was being very stubborn about it, but you had to do this for the organization to find out what the hell we are going to do moving forward. That is all. You can follow Sean on Twitter at DumpsterFireFan, myself at Kayvon_sports. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. We will be back. Really, maybe we might be doing a show tomorrow. We'll talk about, like Sean said, a lot going on with the holidays, but we will definitely be back at it on our normal times, three times a week during the playoffs and during the upcoming rest of the NFL season. We're going to do a bowl prediction show as well, where we're basically going to run through every season. Look, I know some people out there don't love me and Sean love bowl season. Like, who doesn't love having bowl games on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Like, how do you not love that? Me and Sean love bowl season. So we will be there to break all of it down. And then we'll be getting into draft season before you know it. Talk to you then. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe to the show. And we will talk to you guys soon.